Hello, and welcome to Colonel O'Truth's Miniature Issues. In today's episode, I'm adding a portico and front door to Lyccium House. In the last episode, you saw me begin this construction using a trifle dish and a spray bottle. I'll put a link to that episode below so you can go back and watch this process. I ended the episode by adding some stylized walls with some rather strange feet I decided I need to fix, and by selecting a statue to sit at the top. Our journey began with 2 years in Undercrag City, and carried by the Bluebird, we visited a couple of places along the way. But now, having crossed the salt marsh sea, we've set down at last in Vellicia. So here's where we left Lyccium House at the end of the last episode. I've decided to add a middle floor, which will have the added bonus of covering part of the feet and making everything a little bit tidier and more elegant. I've numbered the 10 faces of this new floor, and I'm cutting each wall to fit in a specific place. I'm going to follow exactly the same process as I did for the upper floor, gluing my thin black card to sandpaper before cutting out my windows and my wall shapes. Get everything nice and flat. And the sandpaper cuts beautifully. Each piece of wall is designed to fit as closely as possible to the shapes around it. Unfortunately, when I put the feet in place, I wasn't very precise. Some of these walls need to be wider than others. Hopefully it won't show too badly in the final product. Aside from that, these walls are going to be identical. An elliptical window in each one, matching the floor above. My window frames are glued in place. I need super glue to attach this card to the sandpaper. The PVA just doesn't work. Each pair of walls are joined together with a paper hinge, and I use wire to add detail to my window frames. You can watch this process in full in the previous episode. And they fit pretty well. Baking soda to add a stone texture to the window frames. And I get down to my painting. Again, the same colours as the upper floor. Just a heavy dry brush onto the red sandpaper with some fairly hot pink, followed by some lighter pink. If you're enjoying this series, please remember to like and subscribe and share with anyone else you think might be interested. And of course, there's 2 years worth of content in Undercrag City as well. Please also remember to leave comments and questions for me. I love hearing from you all. It's a great little community. Here's my green for my window frames. and my light green highlights. Tidying up with some darker paint. This is a match for the sandpaper below. And then I'm adding the same green window glass as before. Acetate sheet that I've frosted with sandpaper and coloured with ink. A good blob of PVA. And in we go. Glossy side out. Now for some LEDs I've wired. More green light. I put these together in a strip to make things simpler. Now I'm cutting them apart, and I'm going to wrap them around the inside of the middle floor. Feed them through. And wiggle it all into place. Five LEDs, one for each section. In goes a wall. That's going to look pretty good. So we'll start gluing the walls in. Now for a lighting test. The upper floor is a little darker than the middle one, but that's okay. It's time to add various details to hide the joins. Starting with some stonework I've cut and carved from card. And here's my cord. This is actually leather that's been coated. With a bit of care, it glues in quite straight. Some thin wire, just to sit in the fold line. And tiny bits of DAS clay with PVA to blend all of those joins and fill any holes where green light might spill out. With that done, it's time for stone texturing. PVA followed by baking soda. It's not very tidy stuff, but it cleans up okay. I brush off the surplus immediately. When that's dry, I colour everything in. This is my sandstone process that I've used on a couple of models now, and I showed it in the last episode. It's quick and simple, mostly dry brushing. So let's have a look at the board this is going to sit on. I planned everything out a little while ago, and now I'm playing with some cake boards that I picked up very cheap. They're just corrugated cardboard. I'm transferring my design onto some 5mm black foam board. It's the same size as a piece of A3 paper. There are some bits and bobs here that I'll leave you wondering about until a future episode. I'm going to add quite a lot of height to this piece. I want Lyccium House to feel tall and imposing. Everything's being built on a box with an MDF base. There'll be 9 of these in the final city, and they'll all link together in a particular way. The box design gives me plenty of height later if I want to play around with things. So let's get on to the door. I've come up with a design in my sketchbook, and it's time to translate this onto card. I've marked out the card in 10mm lines for stonework later on. The construction will be relatively simple, a front, a back and 2 sides, but there'll be plenty of detailing. Time to cut them out. I think I mentioned in the last episode that I wasn't making life easy for myself. There's a lot of curves in Vellicia. Hopefully the end result will be something you don't see every day. Cut my door shape out, cutting out my detailed stonework, and I've carved into the board. A thinner piece of card, cut to match the shape of the piece in front, and mounted on sandpaper. The sandpaper cuts really easily, but it is a bit hard on knives. That's going to look rather good. A bit more carving for detail. rounding off the edges. And we'll glue it all together. Plenty of PVA this time. I want to be able to move it around until it's right. And now for the front wall. You need a very sharp knife for this, but don't press. It should cut nice and easily. Three matching pieces to give the wall some thickness. And now my sides. 5mm foam core. All cut and shaped to fit nicely with the rest of the model. More sandpaper, and it's time for some stonework. I need to reinforce my corners. Everything about this model has been much more regular than the things I built for Undercrag City. I want Vellicia to look neat, tidy, and well planned. The extra stonework adds more depth and interest to the model. The inside of the front wall doesn't need any detail at all. It'll be impossible to see. That's taking shape. I'm going to texture and paint these two pieces before I join them together. It'll just be too fiddly otherwise. There's my baking soda, more PVA. I try and work in large sections like this. If you get PVA and baking soda on your brush, it just clumps up and it's horrible. Brushing off the surplus. And it's time for the door. I'm plotting this out on thin card to add my stylized windows, and I've matched it on a piece of basswood. Very carefully cutting out the shape of the window. Also cutting directly onto my sketchbook, which isn't the best practice. Now to neatly cut out the lines between the planks. If this was balsa wood, I'd just score them in with a pencil. I'm going to start with grey ink. This will give me an undercoat without obscuring any detail like paint could. And the stonework's going to be the same sandstone as the rest of the model. starts with a very pale undercoat. The baking soda's barely visible before you paint it, but there's a good texture that comes through. Now some very fiddly knife work. I'm colouring the doors with the same green I used on the window frames. Dry brushed so that it's slightly patchy. Back to my sandstone. The first time I used this process, it was guesswork and I was worried several times. This yellow looks very garish. A little bit of highlighting on the doors. Maybe too much. Yes, I'm going to darken that off again. It starts to look like a slightly worn painted door. More stonework. Working in this way when you've got more than one thing on the go speeds things up quite a lot. You can let things dry while you're working on something else. Each new colour just makes the sandstone slightly more believable. Happy with that. Time to sort out the pink. I'll cut it all in with the darker tone. Fill in the spaces in between. And it's back to my door. My very delicate, thin card window frames are going on. Pretty good. Hot pink. With all those surfaces done, it's time to join the two pieces together. These bright tones are a fairly new thing for me, and I'm enjoying them, although it was a bit nerve-wracking to think of at first. This is thin card I've painted copper, and I'm scoring into it so that I can match it to the bend in the roof. Like I said, lots of curves in Vellicia. Little bit of detailing on the inside first. This will barely be visible. That's been painted copper. And my roof's going on. Here's more frosted acetate. I showed this process in the last episode. Cutting out my window shapes very precisely. They'll take a tiny bit of trimming. And they should fit in quite nicely. There we go. Now for the rest of the stylized design of the windows. I'm measuring these out, cutting them in a very linear fashion. More Art Deco than Art Nouveau. But now I'm using PVA to sculpt curves into the corners. As it dries, it becomes quite malleable. And I'm also using it to add a more organic texture to the frame itself. Once all of this is painted, it should look quite interesting. Reminiscent, I hope, of the work of Gaudi and other Art Nouveau architects. My copper paint gets a green wash. This is mostly green ink with some blue and some water. Exaggerating the central line of the two doors and trying to tidy it up a little bit. Limited success there. Looking pretty good. Of course, a door needs door handles. Going to see what I can do with some very thin wire. Twisting 3 pieces together. Wrapping it around the trusty pointy stick. And I've got 2 little ornate door handles. Bit of plastic tube. Tiny pieces of card. And there we go. It's very fiddly. The door handles have been painted, and at last it's time to add the door to the doorway. Make sure everything's nice and central. Now, before I can add the doorway to the building, I've got to add the building to the base. I've added plenty of green light for the lower floor later on. And now I'm committed. Nothing can be changed. In we go. More decorative stonework to join the doorway to the building. Now I'm measuring line by line across my roof to get the curve I need to join to the circular building. Scored and folded in the same way as the layer below. Plenty of glue. Find my center line. And that was pretty good. Leather cord for detailing on the copper roof. Copper paint. And there we are. I think that's looking rather good. There's still a long way to go before this building is finished. And 8 more boards after this one. In the next episode, I'll be focusing on the path and stairs that lead up to this door, all the way from the street outside. And of course, I'm going to need to do the lower floor at some point. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.